The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Department of Defense is working with Google to help secure America's digital defense systems, from establishing cloud-based zero-trust solutions to deploying the latest AI technology. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Ampire.
The babies, the babies, the babies, the babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. What's up, everybody? Big one tonight, Callow. Big moment tonight. I don't put anything past Alex Ovechkin. I really don't. And, they're home. They're playing not a very good team. If he were to score in the first period, who knows? Like, maybe he ties it tonight. Maybe he breaks it tonight. Maybe it happens over the weekend. I know everybody wants me to talk football. I will in a moment, but I just want to start with, I'm going to come back to this because I want to spend a lot of time talking about it because it's literally happening and it could literally happen this weekend before we talk again. It's amazing. I mean, it really is just truly an unbelievable feat that this guy is going to surpass potentially by tonight, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, and go look at the history. Literally, the last time he needed to pass someone, he did it against the Blackhawks. He did it with a hat trick. He did it through 2 periods. I put nothing past him. I've said for weeks now, when he gets within striking distance, he does superhuman things. And look, let's be honest here too. The Blackhawks are bad. They are the second worst team in the Western Conference. They only have 52 points on the year. When the Capitals played them earlier this year, they did not have a lot of jump. I was not impressed by them. There's also, a factor on here too that I keep talking about, and it's Alex Ovechkin wants to get this over with. I think he wants to focus on a playoff run, winning a second Stanley Cup. I told you last game when he started doing the solo press conference, at the desk, not in the locker room.
Yeah.
You know how athletes get. There's no way he wants to do this for more than 1 or 2 more games. So I really look at this as Ovechkin is probably, for the first time during this chase, going to be tapping his stick on the ice against this team, saying, let's get this over with. And I think there's a factor here. You want to do it at home. I don't think that's an end-all, be-all. Let's say he gets 2 tonight. I don't think he's going to not try to score against the Islanders on Sunday. But
right.
You know that he would prefer to do it in front of a home crowd on a Friday night where everyone's really been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll get back into it because I actually want to spend a lot of time talking about it today. Next week, if by Monday he does it, or, we'll be setting up for what would be another home game later in the week for him to do it there. I agree with you. I also don't want to see it happen on an empty net goal. And I wonder how they're thinking about that now, especially like tonight, if he has 2 and it's late and for some reason in the blend, and the game's still close and the Blackhawks pulled, they're going to treat that. I wouldn't even put him on the ice because I wouldn't even want it to happen, but that's just me. Anyway, all right, let me get into the Commanders a little bit here to start. We'll revisit Ovechkin in a little bit. I want to go back to, I did not talk a lot about what Dan Quinn or Adam Peters said because they didn't actually say much. And I was on Kime's podcast the other day, and the first question he asked me was, how weird is this that there's just not much out there about them, that we're in a new world, where they're not making the type of news that we're like, oh God, or they're not making a million changes, like that. So we're in a new space where we are a settled team with a settled future, with it law, which way we're going, who the coach is, who the GM is, what we're trying to build here, and who the quarterback is. And when Dan Quinn was kind of asked a question the other day where he's like, kind of like, what a difference a year makes, because he's like, I'm not selling hope anymore. And he said, well, we're just in a completely different space. They're going to have a way harder schedule this time around. The divisions that they lined up this year, they're going to play night games. We already know it. Their schedule is going to be arduous. I already know it. Jaden Daniels is a calling card. This team, oddly, even through all the years, they always rated well because they're one of these franchises. They were always put on a night game against the division team because it rated well. Here they're going to be on Thanksgiving in Dallas. We already know it, because they rate well. This is going, and now they got a calling card. I expect them to have 3, 4, 5 night games this year. Maybe it sounds like the international thing doesn't look like it's actually happening this year. Last I heard, about the Chargers, who's one of the two teams that it could possibly be, is that there's people in Kansas City reporting they think it's going to be the Chiefs going to Brazil to play them. So if that were to happen, I mean, who knows at this point? Because I also, you never know. But like at this point, it doesn't feel like that it's heading in the direction. Maybe they'll play Miami out in Spain, but who knows? We'll see how they actually. But either way, they're going to have they're going to be one of the 5 teams that gets maximum coverage on night games unless their season goes wrong and they get flexed out of them, because that's who they are. So we're in a very different space. And I agree that, to Dan Quinn's point, like, we're not selling hope anymore. The whole league, it's not they've been put on notice. Things have just changed around here. And his kind of point was also, it's because of number 5, and we all know it. And I know he doesn't want to, take all of the credit. He deserves a lot. Peters for what he's done, Quinn for the culture they've built. Here we are talking about how settled everything is this time around. Like, we're sitting here, anxious about what's to come, seeing the holes on the roster, but proactively feeling optimistic about what's coming down the road. And it does all back up to, we have our quarterback. We haven't had somebody like this in a very long time. He does signify hope. I mean, I don't even know if hope's the right word anymore. He signifies possibility, I think is the way to put it.
I was going to use the word Messiah, but, maybe we're a little too close to Easter for that one. I would say that's what, is going to stir their drink for a while now. They're going to get 5 primetime games because of him, not just because they're good. It's because of him and how thrilling he is to watch. By the way, my prediction for primetime, they're going to get the opener, I think. I think they're going to play the Eagles week 1.
I do too. I agree with you. I think they're going to be on that Thursday opener. I completely agree with you.
I called that before the Super Bowl. I said they were playing week 1 no matter what, because the Chiefs were on the schedule too. So I think they're getting the opener. I'm with you. They're definitely getting Thanksgiving. The league is not going to let that one slip by. I would say as well, they're going to get at least one Sunday nighter with one of the other rivals, right? So some NFC East matchup will be a Sunday nighter. They will obviously get the typical Thursday nighter as well, compared to Thanksgiving too. And then they're going to get a Monday night football game or 2 is what I'm going to guess too. That's an easy 5 right there, 5 or 6, not including if they get flexed into something else as well. So yeah, 5 primetime games sounds about right. Internationally, I haven't really thought they were going to, get into one of those games, but I guess we'll see. In terms of what, the messaging is this year too, look at how they built their roster too. Like, it is, I kind of compare it. Keim had a piece on ESPN where he wasn't saying and using this word, but a lot of the 1-year contracts, like, I kind of look at this team and it's a lot of mercenaries paired with Jaden Daniels. Like, yes, they've gone ahead and said, you know what? We don't need to commit the money. Like, it's one thing to turn the roster over, but it's another to say, this guy is so good, we don't need to pony up for these large contracts, especially when guys want to come play here. It's number 5 running the show, and we're running the roster like it too.
It's a really interesting thing that they're doing here. Like, I've described their approach to the first 2 years. Well, I think the first one was a reset in so many ways. They flipped over the roster. They brought in 30 plus new players. I lauded that they didn't give anybody a lot of money, that they didn't give anybody a lot of term, that everything they did was very thoughtful. And it was, not all of these are going to work. And but we can get out of any of them. There's no one of these that when we have a miss on somebody, or it just doesn't work out, or he just doesn't fit, they'll be able to get out of it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But you knew the second they did that, I was looking at it going, well, whether this works or not, they're going to be doing this again next year. And then next year comes, and you look at the free agency class, there's not a lot of people you're going to want to commit a lot of term or money to, because they just didn't have that vibrant of a class that was available. The few people that they might have, Ronnie Stanley, somebody like that, well, they were off the board by the time free agency actually opened. So they had to shift gears, and they had to do what they did, which was, I think initially, I don't think they want to trade away their picks, but they decided that they had to improve the team. And they did 2 major trades. They traded away a number of picks, and they've been flexible about this as they've kind of moved along. And as you look at the roster now, there's 2 things that are just completely evident. They clearly want to win right now. They feel like they can win right now, and they feel like they can't do, which is the typical, like, when you think about a team that's like kind of new to the championship chase, that kind of shows up. Houston comes to mind a year ago, where they drafted their quarterback. They had a great first year, but they were the classic, very young team, new coach, tons of young players. Of course, there were some veterans, but their best players were all really, really, really young, with the exception of like Tunsil, and a couple of others. They're a very, very, very young team. And they're the classic, watch out for them. They're going to get good. Watch out how good they're going to be. They're going to keep building. We're actually different. We are like, when I was on with the NFL Network people, I wanted to say this on the air because they were going to they tell you what they're going to ask you. And I just talked too long, and they were going to ask me are you concerned about, them falling off? And I would say it's going to be hard to replicate what they've done just because of the competition, not because not because I think that they would fall off. I just think they're playing too many, it looks like on paper, too many good teams to get to 12 or 13. If they get to 12 or 13 again off of that schedule, that's going to be something because of how many good teams that are already lined up for them. They're not going to get really many breaks. It doesn't feel like it, at least along the way. But the other thing that really stands out about it to me is this. They're not a young team, actually. If you really look at what they have, they're not. The quarterback is, but McLaurin, Debo, Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, Laramie Tunsil, Marshawn Lattimore, now Deron Payne, Dorrance Armstrong, Frankie Louvu. These aren't young players. None of them are. The whole team is actually veteran-laden. And so they're a really unusual team. They reset with a ton of veterans. They had an incredible first season together. They're building on that. They brought in more talent, but established all-pro veteran talent. This is not a young upstart. That's why I think you don't need to sell hope. Look at their roster. You may not look at it and go, and I don't look at it and say that's the Eagles, but I will say this, that's formidable because you know who those people are that are on that team. This isn't Houston. They've decided we can't just go through the draft. We can win now, but we got to go get better players. Look at their roster. They're veteran laden.
No, I mean, I don't think I'm with you. I share that same sentiment. I never looked at this team and said, oh, this is a young and up-and-coming team.
They're not.
Mainly because of how the roster was set for them before last offseason. There weren't enough young players to call them young and up-and-coming.
That's right.
They had to turn over half the roster, and they went and added not just veterans, legitimate, been through a couple teams, Hall of Fame type career type veterans too. So I don't put them in the same light as the Texans. I will say though, I'm a little jealous. The Texans had some young players to work with when they drafted Stroud, which, I will give them, credit that they weren't a total also ran in building their roster. But yeah, I've thought the same thing. And I think that was a factor last year on how this team, I don't even want to use the term, but grew up so fast or gelled so fast last year was because there weren't all of these young players. It wasn't like half the roster was not only trying to play football, but also trying to be a pro. I talk about it all the time where sometimes people, I think, forget that you get these 22, 23-year-olds and they're not just trying to play football. They're also trying to figure out how to be professional workers, right?
That's
so
right.
This is not what this roster had to do last year. They kind of knew how to do everything and brought along a few of the guys that were young on this roster. And you look at how those guys thrive too. The two main guys that thrived on this roster that were young were Jaden Daniels and Mikey Sanders still. And you saw what they were by the end of the year. They were pros, bar none pros, if not even better, of course, with how both of them played.
Well, and the thing that they had in common is they had all played a ton in college. They didn't end up playing 1 or 2 years. They played a ton. Daniels came in the league, a ton of college football at big conference level, got better and better and better as it went. Sanders was a receiver for a long time, transitioned to be a corner, but played a ton at Michigan at a high-level program that won a national championship. The one hit off the draft class that doesn't fall into that category is Brandon Coleman. He actually didn't play a lot in college and has turned into what I think is going to be a keeper starter for them at whatever position he's at. But again, yes, they had a vibrant draft class. Yes, they had major hits, specifically in Daniels and Sanders still. But this isn't a draft class laden team. That's not the foundation of this team. Daniels may be the foundation of the team, and Sanders still on defense looks like he's a massive hit for them. But that's not what they're about. They're a veteran laden team. I wouldn't even say it goes both ways here. This veteran laden team knows how good that quarterback is. The quarterback's not carrying them and they're not carrying him, but they are different. It's oddly in divergent paths. And the fact that he kind of leads, gets along with, meshes so well at his age versus who his contemporaries are in there is amazing as well. Typically, you want to line people up. I remember saying last year, I go, here's the thing about McLaurin's future, and this is what worries me about it. Like, I love him, but this quarterback's really young. And if he gets really good and McLaurin doesn't become the preferred target, I think we know what's going to happen here because age-wise, they might not be lined up right. As it turned out, they are, to the point where he did become their number one, still is, even with Debo here, is going to be a commander for a long period of time whenever they figure it out contractually. This is one of the most unique meshes I've ever seen. Typically, when you get the young quarterback, you need the young players with them and they grow together. That's not what's happened here. And this team realized that and doubled down on it this offseason and said, you know what? Let's go get Laramie Tunsil and Debo Samuel, older players who have been around a long time to play with this team.
Yeah, I mean, here's what it also boils down to. Like, not only on acquiring those players, they had so many needs and the roster got turned over so much. It really didn't matter how they approached it. They just needed to make some kind of changes. So it was basically your two picks. You could have literally taken those picks and used them on other players, or gone and acquired a couple of veterans. Like, the roster was so wide open with what they needed. We both saw it that it could have gone both ways. They decided to clearly go, we're going to acquire what we can without giving up our top two picks, essentially is what happened here. And you can do that when you have a roster that seemingly can go ahead and build on itself and have a guy like Jaden that, honestly, I know you don't want to use the word carry, but is so good, can kind of cover up some mistakes along the way.
Well, I think like last year, carry, again, it's the wrong word. Like, McLaurin was outstanding for them last year. I think that offensive line really held their own considering what was going on. You know, like they were weakening as the season went along. They didn't have enough depth to kind of rotate through some of it. And, you know, like there was an upgrade. They got Tunsil because there was an upgrade in talent that was obviously necessary. But I think it's fair to say as the season progressed, he did have to become Superman to help them. And this time around, they're looking at it and going, we can't make him do that again. And they're bringing in help for him. So I agree. He didn't carry them, but he did at times. But that's going to be the life cycle of this team. Like, this is why you should be so excited about them. He's capable of that at any point in time. If they ever seemingly need to lean on him to do it, he's more than capable of doing it. He's a special player. But the team is looking at it and going, we can't make him do that anymore. Or at least as little as possible. I mean, this happens all the time with guys like Lamar or Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes, where there are just a couple of games where they have to do the thing. It's the NBA model. At some point in the fourth quarter, Steph Curry's got to take some shots. LeBron James has to get the ball. And if you have one of those people on those nights where the rest of the team might not be able to hold up their end of the bargain or are competitively stuck, you need this person to be special. He's capable of it.
I think too, like, there was a difference between kind of like letting him run the offense and then really just letting him have the ball in his hands. And in the second half of the season, maybe last third of the season is probably the better word, after the bye week, I think it was very much Cliff Kingsbury just saying, Jaden, take the wheel, like, go for it. Like, I think we saw a little bit more of that down the stretch, because I think so too. We saw it in week 1 and 2 where you could tell they were keeping the offense chained up on him a little bit. And then they finally were like, all right, this guy is that good. And they let him run more and more and more. Then the last third of the season, that was, you know, all those last second wins and everything. It was, all right, let him do his thing, because honestly, how could we not at this point? He did earn that trust to carry the team a little bit too at the end of the year.
You know what I love too? I just think back to, at the beginning, everybody knew he was going to be the starter, but they made him compete for it. They made him earn it.
One of my favorite things.
They made him earn it. They made this team get to know each other thoughtfully. They made them. And it didn't mean they were going to have the type of chemistry that they were going to have, but they thoughtfully went about all of that stuff. Peters and Quinn just have their hands on the pulse of the organization in a way that I'm not accustomed to in a long time. I can't really speak to Mike Shanahan, who's a great coach, because that was the period of time when I was not here and in town. I was following them every day, but I was up in Connecticut and I was following them from afar and just hearing. When you're there every day, it's different. I covered the second Joe Gibbs era. I was there every day with him. And there was that feeling of that, like, everybody's in control here. We all know what's going on. That said, they would have done Gibbs a favor by giving giving him a better option person along with him, but that's, neither here nor there now. I think there would have been more alignment. This is the first time that I look at the, the group, I'm not trying to slight the people here before, but where the feeling around it is everything is being thoughtfully thought through. Everything is being thought about. There are actionable things that are occurring and everybody's on the same page. And Quinn's hands are on the wheel in a way that gives me so much confidence. Every time I talk to him, there isn't anything that he's not aware of, addressing, or trying to make better. And I know Peters is every day looking under every rock to just try to figure out how to work this thing together. They are really in lockstep. And it's just again, you don't have to sell hope when it's like that. And you know it when you see it. And I thought Dan Quinn should have gotten more votes for Coach of the Year. 12-5. Adam Peters, I know, Philadelphia has that roster. It's going to be hard to give him Personnel Man of the Year, but 12-5, you got to be kidding. That was one of the greatest turnarounds in NFL history. And, there were a lot of good candidates for all these things, and I'm not dismissing it, but it just being around it every day and now looking at this right now and not knowing what is coming, it really was an astounding job, and it continues to seem to be building that way.
No, I'm sure they would actually prefer it to be this way too, to not get all the accolades and still let themselves fly under the radar as much as possible. They're not going to do it, but it's as much as possible. On the starting thing, you made fun of me last year when I said I love that they didn't call Jaden the starter because I called out the Bears for doing what they did, and the Bears wasted zero time naming Caleb. It was day one of their rookie OTAs or whatever. And it was Friday at noon that they named him the starter. And I went, I get it. There's literally no one else there. But, make him earn one thing, heading into the season. And that's what it...
But, I agree, but, they didn't have Marcus Mariota there. And we all knew that Daniels was going to start. They had, no backup. Literally no backup there.
And so that's what I'm getting at. They should have signed a backup. That's what I'm saying. These are part of the steps to make that. And I'm not saying it was this big difference maker, but I like it. I like that a team looked at a guy like Jaden that knows he's a stud and went, we're not going to hand you the starting gig. You at least have to earn this. We have confidence that you're going to earn it, but it is something you've got to check off the box. And that's what I called it at the time. Check off the boxes to be a starter. And once again, I'm not saying this affects Caleb Williams or not. Caleb Williams probably would have beat out whoever, but I just think it's a part of that culture and a part of that, let's see how you react when we don't hand you this. And see how you are. And I think Jaden passed that with flying colors, that he didn't have to, that he wasn't handed that. And he said that he liked that. And it's funny, there's already chatter of that in Minnesota. It was a storyline, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago where JJ McCarthy was like, they haven't named me the starter. And the follow-up quote was, I like that. I want to earn it. Yet you go to First Take and they're talking about, well, how does he feel about that, blah, blah, blah. He felt fine about it. He said he wanted to check off that box too. And so I'm just saying that's a part of the culture here that I think they said, we know that you're good. We know that you're the starter, but we still want you to check off the box. And I think that's a little microcosm of how things have changed here over the last year.
And then comes the implementation on the field. They went up tempo in the summer. They showed what they were going to do. They did it in the preseason games. They actually showed their cards. They didn't play Daniels very much, but they showed their cards about what kind of offense they were going to run. And, Quinn talked about this the other day where the film is out now and they did run a lot more plays than everybody else. I think in the end, and I was talking about this midseason, my one concern with the offense, because it started rolling at the beginning of the year. And when they went up tempo, at times they became almost unstoppable early in the season. But when you run that many plays, there is attrition. And I think it started to kind of catch up to them as the season went along, especially on the offensive line, where they started to get some injuries. They started to tire. The run game kind of started to disappear. I don't know what happened to B-Rob, honestly. He had one bad game, and then all of a sudden he wasn't the same player for a little while. And I'm hoping for, a bounce back from him because it's a contract year for him. So I'm hoping for a bounce back. But the tempo O part of it, it worked. They had the type of offense they needed. Everyone's seen it. I wonder if they're going to do it again or if they're going to do it as much. Clearly, it's something that needs to be profiled, but it was almost exclusive at times that they were an up-tempo offense. I mean, when he brought it up, he brought that up, that maybe they're thinking maybe we don't need to do as much of that this year. We'll profile it when we profile it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that was sometimes a game decision too. Like sometimes they got a personnel group that was stuck out there, right? Like I do think there's a little bit of that. You also don't want to run into the, you know, it's not a problem, but we've seen it happen in years past in the NFL where sometimes the offense is almost like too good and scoring too fast. And all of a sudden the game opens up because you're scoring so fast. We used to see it all the time with like Peyton Manning's Colts, right? I think that's always the best example of it, that they scored so much and so fast that it affected their defense. I think this team, not saying they want to be like this power run team, but I do think they want to take like these longer drives, not score as fast. And, you know, you could still do that up tempo too. You just have Jaden call stuff at the line and, you know, take his time. But I'm with you. I don't think they're going to do as much of that next year. I think they want to be a little bit more balanced.
One other thing we talked earlier this week, we talked a lot about Brandon Coleman, where he's moving to right tackle, and they put it for now that they didn't say he's definitively going to be the starting right tackle. They said that's where he's going to start in minicamp, which kind of led me down a path of, okay, then this I think makes it unlikely that they're going to go draft a tackle very high, but doesn't mean it's off the board, but kind of leads me to another little crumb of what are they thinking about with those top two picks, that it's probably not going to be in that direction if that's what they do. I didn't talk about this other one. There was another for now that was brought up, and that was what Mike Sainristil does. And Quinn said he is going to stay on the outside for now. He said it is more likely that Jonathan Jones, who they got, free agency, the former Patriot, that he would actually likely go inside. He caveated all of this with they could play all these positions, and they made a big deal last year of saying that they really love Sainristil on the inside, that they think he could be there. Did a great job as the season progressed playing, I don't know if out of position is the right word, but like it kind of got that way for him, at least in their own mind of what their initial plan was. They just had to do what they had to do because of the weakness of the group in general. They traded for Lattimore. The other side wasn't working out. They forced him to go outside. It worked out by the end. But that was another one for now. So I'm going to be watching this one too, how this one plays out, because I don't think it's a certainty that that's what they're going to do, but that's where they're quote unquote starting him at.
Come on, man. You got to pull out the old term, position flex. That means they can put him wherever they need him to. I honestly think that's where this lands here is let's see how it all fits in training camp. Let's see how the season progresses too. Like we see this happen all the time, especially on defense where guys start at one place and they move to another place. I mean, it literally happened with Mikey last year. So I think it's just going to determine how the year plays out. Look, Mikey's actually, I think he just turned into one of those players too. Maybe he does everything well, and maybe it doesn't really matter. You just put him at the place that you need him the most because he can actually do both.
Yep. One other NFL thing before we take a break. The Cowboys got their potential secession plan. I want to put, this is important because they traded for Joe Milton from New England yesterday. New England went and signed, I can't remember who, as a backup, but an established veteran backup. Obviously, Drake May is their starter, right, moving forward. So it gave room here to get some assets for Joe Milton, and there was a market for him. It was reported there were multiple teams that were trying to get him, and, they got back. I think they traded him in a 7th for a 5th. So they got a decent, that's not a bad return that New England got to make that happen, considering he was at best going to be the 3rd quarterback on the team, and they've decided this. I think it's important when people say because I saw LaShawn McCoy. I saw some clip of LaShawn McCoy on one of the Fox shows, and he's like, Dak Prescott needs to get a real estate agent because this guy can play. And I'm like, dude, this guy isn't in Dak's stratosphere yet. What he has is maybe the best arm in the NFL. That's a possibility. He's got a crazy arm, but I'm not sure he knows where the ball is going yet. He's an incredible athletic prospect, but he is a backup to Dak Prescott. And then if you read closer too, it said, they might have wanted to get Jacoby Brissett. They might have wanted to get Drew Lock. He wasn't their first choice to do this. They were looking at free agent options before they ever got around to him. Then he became available, and he's kind of like Trey Lance. They're going to take a shot on him. They're going to bring him in. But this trade to me, when it was so reactionary, he's going to replace Dak Prescott. Not yet, buddy. Maybe if he really develops over a couple of years, but not yet for sure.
No, I think the Trey Lance comparison is perfect in that's a perfect roll of the dice, right? And especially when you take a guy, you give him the new change of scenery, and you see what he can do by sitting on the bench for a couple of years. Clearly, it didn't work out with Trey Lance. He looked bad pretty much from the start. Milton's not that, though. He's a little bit younger, was only there for a year. And so I do look at that one of just like, all right, they're rolling the dice here. And I've told you this and we've talked about it. They somehow usually have like success with just some of these guys sitting on the bench, not doing anything for a while, and then maybe developing. So this is them rolling the dice. I think it's a perfectly fine roll of the dice too. I don't think there's anything having to do with Dak, because here's the other thing too. If Dak goes down, it's over. It happened last year. Like when he goes down, they cannot recover essentially.
Yeah, no, I think there was a lot going on yesterday. Too much was made of this. Also, if he was really that great, or at least New England thought he was that great, they wouldn't have replaced him as the backup quarterback bare minimum. And they would have ended up getting a bigger deal for him because everybody's so quarterback poor that they would have got a bigger deal. They're moving on from him. He's an incredible prospect with an arm like very few I've ever seen, but he's got a long way to go. In my opinion, a long way to go. And so I don't look at him and go, I was actually when they got Trey Lance, I went, we'll see. Maybe he'll turn out to be pretty good for them. We'll see. I think that's the perfect second go around. This one is, okay, we'll see what happens with him. And he's just a backup. He ain't threatening Dak for a second. Not this year for sure. All right, let me take a quick break. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
It's tourney time, and with FanDuel's Dog of the Day, you can get a daily profit boost during the College Conference Championships to bet on any underdog. So get ready to celebrate some upsets.
No one saw that coming, except for me, baby.
21 plus in present in select states. Opt-in required. Minimum plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
All right, welcome back. Let me revisit Alex Ovechkin, who tonight the Capitals play the Blackhawks at home. He is 2 goals away from tying Wayne Gretzky for the most goals in the history of the NHL, and 3 obviously to pass. He has had a penchant for doing grandiose things in moments like this, so it could happen tonight. If it doesn't happen tonight, they play the Islanders on Sunday, so it's very possible by the time we do a show on Monday, he will have passed the record. And if it doesn't happen by then, the next game, fortunately, is a home game. Hopefully, he's either tied or right there, and he could do it on home ice. That would be really wonderful if that were to happen. I also do believe that, if he's on the precipice of tying, which is whatever after the next goal, tying or breaking, I just have a feeling they don't want it to happen as an empty net goal. I don't know this and I haven't heard it, but I just don't feel it in either one of those moments where you're going to have this historic stamped moment. I just don't think you want it to be a gimme like that, an empty net goal. He'll take the one he got the other night where it was just great passing and Strome found him and he had a layup, but that's at least in the course of play. And it's not late and it's not a gimme and it's not them trying to cherry pick him a goal to make history. I don't know that for sure. But the next one might be that. But the 2 after that, I don't think will be.
No, it's the one thing that has been semi-addressed. Spencer Carberry did go on with the Junkies and said, we don't think he's going to want to get the record on an empty netter. So I think the next goal would be the only one I think that would be an empty netter. Because I don't think he wants to tie or break it on that style of goal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, though, like you said, every night will be the new record whenever he scores. So it's not like it's the last goal, but I don't think he wants that highlight video to be an empty net goal at all whatsoever. So I think from here on out, we're basically looking at legitimate goals, which is fine. I mean, there's the last 3 have been legitimate goals against these last 3 opponents. So I do think it will be. And as I said, to start the show off, the Blackhawks are bad. They're the second worst team in the Western Conference. I think that means they're the second worst team in the league. I'd have to look at the points. But either way, home game, it's all really ramping up for. I think he gets at least 1 tonight, if not 2. And when he gets 2, he turns into Superman. And so I really think there's a legitimate shot. Give me a 33% chance that tonight could be the night. The other one that you already just mentioned, too, they go up to the Islanders on Sunday, 12:30 game, primetime game there, too. I'm going to go back to what I said too. He wants to get this over with. He wants to move on from this a little bit. And here's the other thing too. If he doesn't do it on Sunday against the Islanders, I know he's going to look at this because then they don't play again until Thursday and they play the Hurricanes. And it's going to be 3 days of ESPN and NHL Network and TSN. You know how this goes. Those people are going to live over there at MedStar for the next 3 days. If he doesn't do it then, I'm telling you, there's a factor here where I think Ovechkin is like, I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. And I don't even get 2 days. It's going to be 3 days off in between. I want to get this done. I think he does it by the end of this weekend. And I'll say it one more time. I think I said it earlier this week too. The next goal he scores is goal 40 on the season. Like, he's 39 years old and he's about to score 40 goals on the season where he broke his leg. Like, don't lose the context here of just how great, how consistent, how just awesome this guy's been. I don't know if you read Barry Sperluga's piece in the Post yesterday, but he did an amazing piece on Ovechkin just saying he's done this all in a Capitals uniform. He said when he got drafted, he put everything he would into this city. And you and I are Caps guys. So we've seen it from the beginning till right now. I don't think anyone could have really fathomed getting to this point. And I just really kind of can't believe we're staring it in the face in the year 2025. It's legitimately unreal what's happening. Yeah.
I mean, he's, like we were talking about Jaden Daniels, when you first got a glimpse of him, he's everything that you thought he would be. It became evident. We're all for first impressions. The second he walked out on the ice, you're like, oh my God, he is everything that they said he was going to be. But you don't fathom breaking a record like this. You don't fathom playing as long. And then his style of play throughout the beginning and really first half of his career, he was killing people. He would truck people. He plays way different now than he ever did in the past. The fact that he played like that and didn't sustain massive injuries or didn't slow down or didn't have to retire early because he put his body through the ringer, that's unbelievable that we're here now, that he is still scoring 40 goals. He is nothing like that player that used to be when he was younger. He was a truck. He trucked people. He was looking to hit people. He had some Wilson in him. He was a completely different player than the one that's out there today. And it's amazing. Again, because you've seen it and we've seen it the last couple of years. There are nights where he can barely move, where he is the slowest skater on the ice. He's a liability. He can't move, and still he summons it up and he ends up with 40 plus at his age and with a broken leg as a very different player than he ever was. It's unbelievable.
I think my favorite little stat, it's not really a stat, but it's a moment-to-moment thing that John Walton mentioned the other night. When they played Carolina, it was John's birthday, so he remembered this date. It was 10 years ago, 2015. What was that, April 1st, April 2nd? 10 years ago, Ovechkin passed Peter Bondra as the all-time goal scorer in Capitals history. 10 years ago. And all he's been doing for a decade is adding to that number. That tells you how much he was transcending the franchise a decade ago, and he's still going at the rate that he's going. It's legitimately unreal. And to your point, too, it's funny. Ovechkin, every once in a while, he'll catch a guy sleeping and he'll go for one of those hits. But you're right. He used to be a missile. It didn't matter who you were. He was going after you. So much so that they used to have an enforcer. Donald Brashear used to be on this team for a couple years because they didn't want Ovechkin throwing down and fighting either. It has been amazing to see how his game has evolved. And you've seen it too. Over the last, probably since, I guess, the Cup run, 2017, 2018, we'll see Ovechkin get back there and get on the back check and play a little defense. He still does it to this day where he knows he's got to get back sometimes. We never saw that for the first 7-8 years of his career. And so it's just been unreal to see how he's evolved. And honestly, I think the best part about him, and it's always been my favorite thing about Ovechkin, the enthusiasm has never died with him. He has constantly been excited to play the game. He celebrates after every goal. The Canadian media used to make fun of him for doing it. Don Cherry used to call him Euro trash because he didn't, perform the way Canadians did, which is unreal still, looking that he said that on live television. And he's done it so much, nobody can say anything about it anymore. That's how good he is, that he can still do all that stuff and nobody has anything to say about it because his career has really transcended into being one of the great ones.
You mentioned Barry's piece. I did read it. one of the big key takeaways, like as you just kind of go through the history, was this other pivot point was the 2008 contract. He's only 22 at this point when this time comes up, and he revealed, and maybe this was public knowledge, I just don't remember it, that they were to 5-year extension at that point, which is a normal time frame. Actually, in hockey now, guys getting 7-8 year deals are actually semi-normal for good players, which I think is nuts in general to give anybody that length of time. But it's become commonplace in the league. In that league, they do that. It's like really crazy. Baseball gave out some of those too, and it's always nuts when they give somebody some 10, 12, 13. I don't care how good the person is, but whatever. Like Barry points out, like the talk was actually 5 years. And then it was Dick Patrick, the president of the team, who came back and said, let's sleep on it. The quote was, why don't we sleep on this? And said they went back to him. How about 12? And then he said 13. And the fact that he got to another contract is amazing. I remember once I had a conversation with Ted Leonsis, who had a good quote in this too, where he said, Dick is normally very cheap. He goes, for him to come to me and say, I think we should do this, was really, really telling. And I had a conversation with Ted a long time ago, and he said that David Stern of the NBA told him he was crazy to give anybody a contract that length of time. It turned out to be the greatest thing the guy ever did. And Ovechkin lived up to every moment of it, because he never once, not publicly at least, never once even hinted that he wanted to be somewhere else throughout the course of a career, where there were times where they had the wrong coach in there or the team wasn't playing that well. I mean, there's a couple of prominent cases. It's really amazing.
No, I mean, that year too was the first taste of, because that was the first year they made the playoffs. That was the first taste too of how much money he was about to make them too. That first Rock the Red playoff run with him, where they went 7 games with the Flyers, and this city was really starting to buy in. It took 1 year for everyone to buy in on him with Boudreau at the helm. I think that's what made them go, okay, if this guy's doing this in year 1, imagine if we're really good for this, long time. We have this young core, because at the time it was Ovechkin, Backstrom, Semin, Mike Green. Like, that was a really good core that they had going at the time. I think that was their first taste of, let's lock this guy in for a long time, because this is someone that people are gravitating towards. And you and I have this discussion all the time. It's hard to get people sucked into sports in this city if you're not from here. He's one of the guys that has done it. He has one of my favorite things that happens with the Caps too. It's the reverse transplant effect. The Caps go to the West Coast. Then there's all these Caps fans because they moved here, watched hockey for a couple years, and became Caps fans. Like, we've never seen that in any sport in this city. And he's basically gone ahead and transcended it. I mean, it's legitimately unreal. And on that contract, Ted has talked about the David Stearns thing as well. I remember when that happened, I thought it was a joke. Like, I was like, there's no way they signed this guy for 13 years. Like, there's just no way that happened. And looking back, it might be one of the most important contracts in sports history in this city at this point.
Yes, 100%. Last thing on this real quick. I'm so glad that Locker's back for this. I haven't, like, Alan did a fine job in the booth, but like Joe B and Locker need to call this stuff.
Yeah.
And I know some of it, unfortunately, isn't going to end up on Monumental's watch, but Monumental and the league agreed that they're going to let them, for historic purposes, call it when it happens, no matter where the games take place. Tonight's is on Monumental, right? The game with the Blackhawks?
Yeah, so tonight's on Monumental. And on Sunday, they actually, when he got within 3 on Thursday night or Wednesday night, when he got within that, a press release went out right away that Sunday will be on Monumental as well. So they added Monumental for a game too, for Sunday. So like, good. I think the NHL is in full, like, everyone's going to watch this. Just give the Washington market what they want. I think that's like what they've fallen into at this point. So Sunday actually got added to the slate for Monumental.
And it's great that Locker's back. I'm happy he's healthy. I'm happy he's back in the booth, and his voice needs to be heard for this. He's been through the whole thing, so it's cool. All right, let me take a quick break. Bray wants to show his ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. March Madness is here, and every game has a chance to cash in. From the first tip-off to the Final Four, every night promises high-stakes matchups, wild finishes, big-time betting opportunities. And MyBookie's Bet and Get is back to sweeten the deal. Place a cash bet on March Madness and get a surprise reward. Free bets, cash back, bonus clips. You never know what's coming next. Whether it's a number 1 seed rolling or an underdog shocking the world, smart bettors know the real money is made one game at a time. Listen up. Sign up now with promo code MM50, and you can boost your bankroll with a deposit bonus designed to help you make the most of your money. If you don't want a bonus, that's okay too. Just make sure you let them know that we sent you. Bet on every game, anytime, from anywhere, only with MyBookie. Use promo code MM50.
Lowe's knows how to help pros save. That's why the new MyLowe's Pro Rewards program lets you unlock exclusive member deals on the things you need every day on the job. Plus, MyLowe's Pro Rewards members can get volume discounts on eligible orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Exclusions, more terms and restrictions apply. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Okay, let's get into some baseball for a minute, because there's a couple stories that are out there here early in the season. One, Ryan Mountcastle could be traded by the Orioles. That reporting is out there. I think it was Bob Nightingale that's put that out there. Back in the spring, Kobe Mayo didn't have a spot. They have a glut of great, I don't even know, I wouldn't call them prospects anymore. They have a glut of players that they need to make room for. Some of the discussion of how the Orioles, they've amassed all this talent, but how they're handling all of it is of great concern by the people who cover them. And this is another example of it, where at some point you have to choose who your guys are. And you have these other great players. You have to choose to either let them go, trade them, whatever it may be. Anthony Santander is not there anymore. Sounds like Ryan Mountcastle is going to be moved along. And at the same time, they haven't really addressed the voids. Corbin Burns left. They didn't get another ace. So we are at a point now, and I know they're like 3-4 or whatever to start the season. It's very early, and they have a good team, but they don't have a great team. And I do think that the discussion of what is the front office doing now that they're here to try to manage a roster that can win is valid, because here we are at the beginning of the season with them talking about this after the season has started. Why wasn't this addressed in spring training or before? They're pre-planning or thinking about what their ultimate roster to win would be. It's not good. And this is a prime example of it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mountcastle, they wanted to give him the opportunity to try to, be more established on this team. I always thought he was kind of one of the odd men out. To me, he was good, not great, not on the Henderson, Rushman type level. So I always thought he was going to be the odd man out. The thing that happened, though, is Henderson got hurt to start the year. They had a little bit of a trickle-down effect. So the roster was not what they set it out to be, which is the luxury of having a bunch of guys like this, is when a guy gets hurt, you don't really miss a beat too much. Obviously, Henderson's really good. No one's replacing him. But when someone gets hurt, you call someone up, they can slot right in. I'm not surprised Mountcastle is on the outs here. He never really established himself as a superstar. He's a good player, not a great player. I think the injuries is what slowed this movement down, is what I think.
Last one. Dylan Cruz has 18 at-bats and no hits. And a walk. You worried? You worried about this?
Not really. He's young. He struggled a little bit last year. Give him a chance to figure this out. I'm in a no panic mode with the young guys here. Cruz, Woods, they can take their time. I'm more irked about the veterans because they're feast or famine, it seems. Bell, DeYoung, those guys. Those are the guys that I need to rely on at the beginning of the season. I'm not too worried about Cruz yet. They've also played two pretty good teams, too. Like, they played the Phillies. They played the Blue Jays. This weekend, they get the Diamondbacks. Let's see what he does. I'm not worried about it yet. Talk to me in one more week. But with Cruz, too, he had a web jam the other day on playing defense. So he's at least contributing in a different way. Made a diving catch in center field. It was fantastic. So I'll let him contribute however he needs to. I'm not worried. That dude's a professional.
When Jackson Holliday struggled for the Orioles, they had the luxury of just sending him back down to get his head right because the team's too good. This is interesting to see how the Nationals handle this if he doesn't turn it around pretty quickly here, because they kind of need him to be good, and they kind of need him to get the experience. And he's not like waiting in line to get his opportunity. So let's see how they handle this moving forward. All right, everybody. Talk to you on Monday. Brave Watch the show. ESPN 630 The Sports Cap.